Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to UNC Hoops Talk podcast. I am your host, Dan DeWitt. This is actually the 95th UNC Hoops Talk podcast, so getting close to that 100 mark. I don't know, I needed to do something big for that 100 mark. If you got any ideas, let me know. But before we even jump into the exhibition game and looking up to the beginning of the season, I just wanted to thank everybody for their support. If you have watched, if you have shared, liked, anything to do with UNC Hoops Talk podcast, just wanted to thank you. The downloads have been awesome lately. YouTube, the watch time, and the views there on iTunes, everywhere. Downloads and listens look awesome. So I just want to thank anybody that has supported, listened to, watched, whatever, the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. I'm so grateful. That's the reason I do it. I just want to unite Tar Heel Nation. That is my goal. It's not making money off of this, anything like that. It's just to unite Tar Heel Nation and have some fun talking Tar Heel basketball with some UNC fans, some diehard fans. So no guest on this week. If you would like to be a guest fan on the UNC Hoops Talk podcast, just let me know. Email, Twitter, all that will be in the description below. Connect with me and let me know. We'll see what we can do. I don't really turn people away. As long as we can make something work, we will make something work. Also, before we jumped into the actual discussion of games and all of the nitty-gritty stuff this exciting time of the year brings us, with the exhibition game we had Friday, the games coming up this Friday and this weekend, I just had a question. I got a couple of questions. I'm going to ask one kind of to start this podcast off. I'm going to ask one at the end. Would love for you to respond, again, on Twitter, here in YouTube comments, email, whatever's easiest for you. I'd love to hear your answers to this. But I recently, in the past week, watched the national championship game again. First time I'd watched really any of it. Of course, I've seen highlights and seen that final shot too many times to count, and way more than I want to. But this is the first time I sat down and watched the game. And when I watched the national championship game, I watched it on the national broadcast, whatever channel that happened to be this year or last year, I don't remember. But I recorded the team stream one. Remember, Bleacher Report, does of each team with their announcers. And for North Carolina, it was Wes Durham and Brennan Haywood. And I DVR'd that. And I tried several times to sit down and kind of watch it and stuff. Couldn't do it. It's too hard, hurt too bad, all that. But in this past week, I sat down, I watched it all. It was brutal. I think it helped a little bit to kind of get on, and maybe it's because it's so close to the season, I don't know. But I feel like it helped a little bit for me to get over the hurt. But my question is, have you watched the national championship game over? Have you watched it at all? Anything like that? Let me know. Again, comment or hit me up on Twitter, email, whatever it is. But have you watched the national championship game since that Monday night in April? Let me know. But yeah, without that, way too much talk here before we jump in. I like to jump into the meat and potatoes of the podcast as quickly as we can. So I'm not going to do it anymore. We had a exhibition game, finally some live action, not scrimmaging ourselves. It was not necessarily on TV, but the Watch ESPN app was there, recording it and producing it. The audio was pretty shaky. Sean May was on the call again. I think technically it wasn't ESPN3, it was ACC Extra or whatever that's called. But Sean May on the call, which is fun to hear because he's with these guys every day in practice and gets the behind the scenes stuff that we don't. So yeah, we played UNC Pembroke. I actually did, again, sorry, side note before we get into it, but I actually did a Periscope about my thoughts at halftime. I didn't get to do one after the game, but I did one at halftime. And if that's something, I want to do more of those this year. If that's something that you think would be interesting, something that you would watch and participate, because I didn't get a whole lot of comments or participation in that one. Decent amount of viewers, but that's not why I do it. I don't do it to be seen. I mean, look at me. This is not anything to look at. It's not why I do this. or Periscope or anything that I do as far as Carolina basketball goes. I want the interaction. I want to talk with you guys. I want you to talk to me. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I mess up. Where we disagree, where we agree, all that good stuff. So if that's something you'd participate in and comment in, make sure you're following me on Periscope. Again, the link will be in the description or my handle, but it's at All Tar Heel Dan, just like my Twitter, at All Tar Heel Dan, and you'll be able to find me on Periscope, Twitter, all those good places. So yeah, we play UNC Pembroke, and like I said at halftime, we look good. We're going to be a good team. If you don't know that, go back to the predictions podcast and listen to what I predict. We're going to be a good team. And we looked good, but I don't think what was perceived against UNC Pembroke was as much as how good we're going to be as opposed to just how much better we are than them. And that's not a knock on them. We're supposed to be better than UNC Pembroke. That's why we play them as an exhibition game. But we could do whatever we wanted. If we wanted to badly enough, we'd get every rebound. We'd make a bucket every time, get it inside, get an open three. Force them to the left side of the court on defense. Whatever it is, we would be able to, bull rush them. Again, do what we wanted to. So yeah, we won 124-63. Don't expect to see that a whole lot this year, especially when you get an ACC team. I know we're going to be good. We're not that good. We're not, 60 points, 50 points, whatever is better than a whole lot of teams we're going to play this season. So, and there's a reason for that. Roy schedules hard, and yeah, we're just not going to beat teams by 50. So, yes, we looked good. We made some shots, had some blocks, whatever, but we're not going to be, that dominant. So, yeah, we win 124-63. I don't want to spend too much time on it because going over an exhibition game is beating a dead horse already. So I'm going to quickly kind of run through. If you've listened to the podcast before, I like to kind of give you the stats. And
I'm never going to look at stats. Stats are always for losers.
And evaluate a little bit of that stuff. But Joel Berry led us 20 points. He also had 6 assists to 1 turnover, 4 steals in 22 minutes. He was 3 for 3 from the three-point line. That's obviously a good thing. 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Justin Jackson, 16 points. But what's even better than that, he was 7 assists to 1 turnover, which is awesome. But again, I think that's more who we played as opposed to what his actual assist to turnover ratio is going to look like this year. He also played 22 minutes. He actually took the most shots of anybody with 10 shots, which again is low. We're going to Joel Berry, Isaiah Hicks, those guys are going to have more than 10 shots a game, or at least I hope so. There's something's wrong. But he led us in shot attempts at 6. Got his 16 points. Isaiah Hicks also 16 points. He did have 4 turnovers. He was 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Only 5 rebounds for Isaiah Hicks. Kennedy Meeks 11 points, only 5 rebounds as well, and none of his were offensive. He was perfect from the field, shot for 5 for 5, but yeah, not spectacular there by any means. Nate Britt, which, as everybody kind of predicted, was the 5th starter in place of Theo there since he got hurt. But 5 points from Nate, 2 assists, 2 turnovers in 17 minutes. I don't know if it's because he's a senior and, that's why Roy played him a little bit less, to get those young guys more time and knows Nate is kind of more reliable or what it was. But, yeah, nothing spectacular from Nate Britt. Off the bench, led by Luke May, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 of them offensive. Also had 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers. Played 19 minutes, 7 for 8 from the field. And also made a 3. He was 1 for 2 from the three-point line. And Luke was, it was mostly just hustle. He was out working people for the ball, getting, every loose ball that was anywhere close to him, and picking his spots, which is awesome for a role player like that. If we're not going to get 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists from Luke May every game. But, if he can give us half of that or, 40% of that, that's awesome. If he can pick his spots, give us a couple of buckets, give us some energy, a couple extra offensive rebounds, an assist, knock down a 3 to open up the middle for Kennedy, Isaiah, Tony, whoever's in with him. I mean, he's doing his job, and we're getting more out of him than what I would have expected. We'll put it that way. Yeah, also off the bench, Kenny Williams, 10 points. Knocked down a couple of threes, which is good to see. We're going to need that from him. It's what we kind of expect from him. Um, Brandon Robinson, 6 points, 3 assists, a couple of rebounds. Didn't hit any threes, but I don't know. Brandon looked better in late night with Roy to me getting to the hoop. He got knocked down one time going. He did get an and one bucket on the fast break, uh, but got knocked around a little bit. I thought, and he definitely needs to get stronger. He's going to have to kind of pick his spots. Hopefully, knock down a couple threes for us. Wasn't as impressed with Brandon as opposed to Tony. Tony Bradley gave us 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 of them. Let's see, make sure I got this right line. Yeah, 3 of them offensive. Gives 4 blocks, and he just looked long. Like he just looked like he extends forever. I think he's 6'10". I don't know if they said his wingspan or not, but he just looks long. Even if he doesn't get blocks, he's going to affect people's shots. And then if he can get a little more aggressive, get a couple more rebounds. Again, I don't know if 8 rebounds. Hopefully that's about what he averages. But again, this isn't his first game; it's just exhibition. But almost a double-double there with 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 17 minutes. Shot 4 for 5 from the field, and then also Seventh Woods. I was impressed with Seventh Woods. Came in, and I think this is why Nate's minutes were down a little bit because Seventh is taking all those backup point guard minutes right now just to get familiar with everything. But 9 points, kind of quiet 9. I don't remember him doing a ton offensively, a couple layups and stuff. 5 for 6 on the free throw line, so there's 5 of his points right there. But 7 assists to 1 turnover. Again, probably not the ratio we're going to see all throughout the season, but you got to take it. You got to love that. He's dishing the ball. He looks like he's someone that wants to give guys open shots, willing passer, and then with his athleticism, as he gets more comfortable, I think we can see some really nice things from him. So I was really impressed with Tony in 7th as far as freshmen go. Brandon Robinson's, again, got to be a little bit better about picking his spots. He's got to put some weight on. Kenny, knocked down a couple of threes. Love that. And to me, that's what I look for in these exhibition games. We know kind of what to expect from Joel Berry, from Justin Jackson, Isaiah Hicks. Again, hopefully they've improved from last year, put in the work, all that good stuff. But we, for the most part, we know what we're getting with them, and hopefully we just get a little bit more of it this year. But it's those freshmen, those young, Kenny, Luke, Brandon, Tony, 7th, those guys that we either didn't or didn't see much of last year. Kind of see how they improved, how they're fitting into their roles, that kind of stuff. That's what I look for in these kind of games. So definitely some positives there. Again, says a lot more about who we played. We could just enforce our will on them at any point. But hey, it's good to score 124 even if it is an exhibition game. We know we can get the ball in the bucket. We shot 10 for 20 from 3-point line, so 50% there. Probably, again, not something we expect to see every game, but we know we're capable. Free throws, we were 26 for 34, so 77%, not bad. We did give up, I think it was a record even, offensive rebounds. They had 30 offensive rebounds, and I'm looking at their box score. Everybody except their point guard, it looks like, had at least 1 offensive rebound, which hopefully isn't something that will become a trend for us this year. We only had 11 offensive rebounds, and that was our calling card last year. We could always, even Kennedy, Isaiah, Bryce, they were going to give us some, when you think about it, those missed free throws became offensive rebounds. Sometimes our best offense was a missed shot. We get the offensive rebound and get back up with it. So we got to do a better job in that area. Nitpicking again, Isaiah Hicks had 3 fouls, which is the most of anybody on our team. So again, take it for what it is in an exhibition game, but he did have the most fouls, and we know that's something to kind of watch for, is his foul trouble. So yeah, it's fun to be back into playing games, seeing them on TV, seeing them against another opponent, as opposed to the scrimmage at late night, where pretty much everybody's just trying not to get hurt. It's exciting just to have college basketball back in our midst. It will start this Friday with some of those, I don't know, on the boat or, Veteran Day games that we always have. I think it's like Michigan State and Arizona, one other kind of big one. But that leads me obviously into our schedule coming up. This Friday we open actually on the road in New Orleans against Tulane. It'll be a 9 p.m. Eastern tip on ESPNU if you're trying to find that game on TV. 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU against Tulane at their place. That's Friday, and then 2 days later we turn around and get the home opener in Chapel Hill against Chattanooga. And this is actually a game time switch. I believe, at least they were saying, some people, their tickets said 6 p.m. It's been switched to 4 p.m. Eastern. That'll be on ESPN2. And then actually, just because I won't do another podcast before it happens, next week, Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, we play in Chapel Hill against Long Beach State. That'll be an 8 p.m. Eastern, and it says the ACC Network Extra. So I guess that'll be on the Watch ESPN app again, which kind of stinks, but at least we can find it. And speaking of being able to watch it, our Hawaii game, which is November the 18th on a Friday, and we play Hawaii kind of on the way to Maui Invitational. But it's going to be a 1 a.m. Eastern tip, and as far as TV, it says Oceanic Time Warner Cable. So I don't know if we're going to be able to watch that one. Even if you can, you're going to be up in the middle of the night watching it, which I will be if I can find it somewhere on TV, but doesn't look like it's too promising there. But going back to the first three games, because again, the next podcast will be after all those are gone. I'll catch the Tulane game, and then on the weekend I'm going to be in Boston for a quick trip. So hopefully I'll be able to catch that Chattanooga game. Otherwise I'll have to watch it on DVR, and then I won't get a podcast before the Long Beach State game. So all three of those games will be played, which is crazy. Pretty much in a week we'll be hopefully 3-0. I expect us to be 3-0. We should be 3-0. But it's crazy. We're 3 games in already next week, pretty much. And of course, next week's podcast, as if you didn't know, if you haven't followed the podcast long enough, we are pretty much into weekly podcasts now that the season has started. In the off season, I go once a month, but once games start, we go once a week. And so by next week's podcast, we will be 3 games into the season, playing Tulane on the road, Chattanooga, and Long Beach State, both in the Smith Center. So exciting times. If you're not excited for this start of college basketball, you're probably listening to the wrong podcast, and you're probably not even listening anymore. So, not a whole lot to say about those games. We should be able to beat them. Long Beach State, decent program, but come on now. If we drop any of those, Roy's going to have them running. He's going to be getting on those guys. So I don't foresee that happening. Hopefully we're 3-0 heading out to Hawaii, and then 4-0 heading into Maui Invitational, but we will talk more about that next week. Before you turn this off, don't stop listening yet. Remember, I told you I had 2 questions for you. First one I asked already before we got into the games was, have you watched the national championship game again over, versus Villanova? Have you watched it again? The other question I have for you, and I've asked this on Twitter already, so I've got some responses, but I'd love more people to respond either by email, Twitter, in the YouTube comments, whatever. But if you could change one thing about the North Carolina basketball program or surrounding it, what would it be? Obviously, there's a lot you can say. You could say, I would change that we never had the sanction. I'd change that we'd get every 5-star recruit or every recruit that Roy wants or goes after or offers or whatever like that. But even beyond that, more of like how we, the fans, get to interact, get to experience North Carolina basketball. What would you change? How would you change it? For me, I would change kind of the social media, I don't know what you want to say, the strategy, maybe. Change the social media strategy as far as North Carolina basketball, and really I would say North Carolina athletics. I would love a more behind the scenes. I know we get stories about it. They do have a Snapchat, but it's the same every game. It's here they come running out. Here's the score at halftime. hey, here's Ramsey. Uh, it's the Snapchat doesn't really give us much, and even the YouTube videos that they send out is a highlight video of the whole game. There's the pregame dancing in the hallway. I mean, why don't we let the athletes take over Snapchat? I've seen it from other teams in college and pro. Do a Q&A on Snapchat where fans can ask. Do some periscopes with the guys. I don't know. I'm not a social media expert. I'm not even a social media strategist. Obviously, I do some for the podcast. I do some for the just tweeting out and Snapchatting or whatever during the game. Told you guys I did a periscope, whatever. But I am not an expert. I don't even know what's all possible. I just know we could do a better job. So if I could change one thing about North Carolina, and of course there's bigger things that I would change. I would love, that we get every recruit that Roy wants, or all the top recruits. Although, again, I want them, but I don't know if I don't know if I'd enjoy it as much if we had Kentucky's program. Obviously, you enjoy the winning. They've been to however many Final Fours since Coach Cal has been there. Still only one championship, and we could say maybe they wouldn't if Kendall Marshall wouldn't have got hurt that year. But whatever, and they're winning at an awesome rate. They're getting guys in the NBA at an awesome rate, so that would be awesome. But to have guys 1 year and then to be losing like the whole team and starting over, like sure, there's some excitement in that, but I love that we got to know Marcus and Bryce for 4 years. Joel James, we got 4 years of him. Even Justin Jackson, Joel Berry, we've had 3 years already. Even if they leave after this year, we got 3 years of those guys. Theo Pinson, probably going to get 4 years out of that guy. And he's just a fun person to get to know him. Definitely not on a personal level, but just the glimpses we get. And again, if our social media was better, we'd get to know him even more. I watch Joel Berry's Snapchat stories a lot more than I do the North Carolina basketball one. It just could be better. So, of course, I would change that the sanction never happened, or that we'd get over with that and it would all be gone and nothing would happen. But I mean, we know that's not likely. That could change. Hopefully, we could influence. Probably not listening to this podcast, but maybe if we get enough people tweeting out there, maybe somebody that's in charge will connect with me, or whatever. Listen to what we say, and that we could really up the social media experience as far as the fans' perspective go, because that's what they do it. They do it to connect with fans, supposedly. So let's connect the basketball team, the football team, whatever it is, with the fans. But kind of a soapbox I've been on. Again, let me know if you could change one thing about the program or surrounding the program. What would it be? How could we do things better or different? Again, not that I can change it, not that I'm going to help you out or make it come true. I'm just curious what other people think about that, or what else they would change. So, yeah, 2 questions there for you. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, thank you so much for everybody that's been listening, downloading, watching, sharing, whatever it is, coming on the podcast. I appreciate it so much. The numbers have been great. Doing this one live, doesn't look like a lot of people watching, but we'll see. Maybe I'll keep doing it live, and hopefully even get some people asking questions during the show that I could answer, and we can just discuss. Again, I want this to be a discussion back and forth. If I do a Periscope, I want people to interact, to ask questions, and just unite Tar Heel Nation to discuss it with you. I don't want to be a talking head or anything like that. So if you are listening this long, I would ask if you enjoyed it at all, subscribe wherever you're listening. iTunes, Stitcher. There's a whole bunch of podcast apps that you can get it on. Subscribe, leave a review if possible. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Share it out there in whatever form. Again, if you retweet when I tweet out that the podcast is live, if you share the iTunes link, if you share the YouTube link, that would be awesome. I appreciate it, and I just again want to thank everybody for the support that they've given, and that's all I got for this time. Until next time, go Heels.